Welcome, one and all, to the Hurdle Podcast. You got Avery, you got Bailey, and you got myself. My name is Logan. And we're gonna do an NBA pod for you guys this week. NBA draft will be coming out the day of the draft, so that'll be exciting to look forward to. We're gonna end the podcast with a mock draft, but we had a couple big trades that happened since we did our last NBA podcast. So we're gonna kind of highlight those, get opinions, get takes, because one team looked particularly bad in both of them. So we'll kind of dive into that. So we're gonna start with the Bradley Beal trade to the Phoenix Suns. Kind of, I won't say odd, but like for a team that has no defense and has all the scoring, they just said, let's bring another one in. So the Suns get Bradley Beal. The Wizards are gonna get Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, picks galore from the sounds of it. They're only getting a second this year, I believe, and then a couple more picks down the road. And Chris Paul's probably gonna get waived, so Chris Paul will get to go to probably a championship team. Hopefully, that's I feel like the whole reason he kind of got dealt in this trade. But I just kind of want your guys' opinion because to me this just doesn't seem like a win for either team because now everyone on Phoenix's numbers are going to go down, and they're probably still going to be just like the same. It feels like it's going to be the same team, just with a bigger name.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting Brooklyn Nets, James Harden, Kyrie, KD vibes, honestly, here. I mean, Phoenix now, they have 5 signed players on their roster. You got those 3, Ayton and Payne. I mean, for a team that needed depth to go out and do this and get a offensive-minded guard while you already have Booker, just makes no sense to me at all. And the Wizards, I mean, I think they just like losing. I don't really know what to say, but I mean he gets Shaman and Paul, that's great, and some picks, but I mean Beal should have been sold 3 years ago when he was an all-star for that high of value. Instead they stuck with it to be an 8 seed, maybe 1 year. So both sides of this trade just seems like a loss to me.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as both you guys. I, I'm I'm trying to figure out who this trade is more puzzling for. Um, just because like you look at Washington and the value that they got in this deal, and it's next to nothing. I mean, you're getting Chris Paul, but like you said, he's gonna get bought out or waived at some point in the season. They'll maybe get if they even have him by the start of the NBA season, they'll get what 30 some odd games out of him, maybe 40. Um, and he's gonna get bought out. He's gonna go play for a championship team by the end of the year. I think that's almost a lock. So there's almost no value there unless you actually manage to trade him for some seconds or something. Shamit, nice bench shooter, and then 2 seconds or 3 seconds and some swaps, and those pick swaps are also second round picks. So
They
they're
didn't get a first.
I know they didn't even get a first for Bradley Beal, and they traded him to a team where they knew they weren't going to get any firsts because Phoenix just traded 4 firsts for Kevin Durant. That was like 4 months ago. So I don't really understand the I understand of wanting to get rid of Bradley Beal's absolutely gargantuan contract, which I think on the last 2 years it's 54 and 57 million. That I wouldn't want any piece of that. And I don't know how the Suns are going to stay under the cap. Avery brought up the big point. They got 5 starters right now at $169 million. So they got $21 million to build a bench for this year and have some formidable 7, 8 man rotation for the playoffs. Like they're just going to have to bring guys in on the minimum to fill out it's like building a roster in 2K where you auto sim and the last 5 guys you get for the minimum and you don't really care who they are, but they're gonna have like 8 of those guys instead of 5.
Yeah, and I hear people talking about how oh, they're grabbing Beal to sell him off again. Well, Beal has a no trade clause.
Yeah.
The last one in the league, I believe. I mean, there's no reason for that. That's why the Wizards got fleeced here.
Hmm.
That's part of that. Beal wanted the most he could get out of Phoenix there.
Hmm.
I don't get it.
Well, and it's crazy because like it felt like if anyone was going to get shipped, it was going to be DeAndre Ayton for the Suns. But Bradley Beal goes, no, you're not getting DeAndre Ayton. I will not waive my trade clause if that team is not together.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a deal. Like it feels like that. Like I think it's obvious that the Wizards got fleeced here, but I feel like the original was like, oh, we're gonna give you Ayton, Chris Paul, maybe Shamet, no picks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bradley Beal was like, no, like I'm not waiving it to go and not have a center, pretty much.
Well, I mean, even with that though, I think Ayton's still on the move. He has to get traded. There's no cap space for them to work with unless they just want to go 40 million over that second apron mark of 190 and just say screw it. We won't make any moves during the season. Our team is our team from day one, and ride it out.
And hope no one gets injured.
And that's just all the problems like roster construction wise from Phoenix. Like schematically, I don't even think Beal fits there either. Because who's gonna run the offense now? Is it just gonna be point guard by committee and just have Booker bring the ball up a third of the time, Beal bring the ball up a third of the time, and Durant bring the ball up a third of the time? Is it gonna be Campaign running the offense, even though you have 3 other superstars? And a borderline 4th star in DeAndre Ayton, where you're paying him like a star, and he averages 17 and 10. So schematically, it makes no sense just to bring in another ball-stopping guard who has to have the ball in his hands. Now, Booker and Durant don't have to have the ball in their hands to score. They can move off the ball. They can do whatever. And Beal can too, but his three-point percentage has been way down from the prime of his career when he was playing with John Wall. And maybe that's because he's taking tougher threes because he's had no one since prime John Wall on his team to really share the rock with, except for Porzingis this year. But I think Beal only played like 30, 40 some odd games and was not good efficiency-wise. So, his looks are going to be better, but is he going to capitalize on them? These are all questions that I have no answers to, and I don't know if Phoenix really does either.
Well, you look at that Brooklyn team too, and Harden took that role on as a facilitator, which made that work. I can't see any of these guys. I mean, Booker, like I like the idea of Booker being a point guard, but just seeing him taking on that facilitator role like Harden did, I can't see that at all.
Yeah.
Well, and now, yeah.
Go ahead.
Right, take.
He even did it in the playoffs a little bit when Paul got hurt. Booker ran the one. Yep. He was getting double-digit assists, but that came with 6, 7 turnovers a game. So unless they plan on having Booker run the one come playoff time, I don't know how this offense is really going to look in terms of fluidity, in terms of continuity, in terms of anything after an 82-game season. Because, like, what if KD goes down as he normally does? What if Booker goes down as he has the last 2 years? Beal has never been healthy for the past 2 or 3 years. This team could run into the same problem that the Nets had over the last 2 years.
Do you think there's ever a point where they, like, let's say they get to right before the trade deadline and it's not working, do they move a piece, like, of that big, let's call it the big 3, because, I mean, we kind of already said Ayton will probably get traded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is there going to be a point where they look and go, oh, this is giving us shades of what Brooklyn had, and they blow it up? Like, maybe it's Beal, but he has the no trade clause, so then it's
You're
KD
not trading
Booker?
Devin Booker.
Yeah,
how do you
that's
trade
the
Devin
thing.
Booker?
That's the thing too. They're stuck in this situation. Really, you just went and got KD. You're not trading Booker. The no trade clause with Beal. You're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You can move Ayton, but that's really it.
And they're probably going to have to do one of those 3-for-1 trades with Ayton, where you get 3 halfway decent pieces that can play 20 to 25 minutes a night, which are the trades that I normally hate. But it seems like Phoenix has to do it because there's no bench depth there. Like you said, Avery, they have 5 guys on their team right now, and I doubt Kevin Durant's looking forward to playing 48 minutes a night for an entire 82 games. So
Yeah, he ain't no Jimmy Butler.
Beal would be the movable piece just because they gave up basically nothing to get him. Like Chris Paul was a devalued asset. Shamet was an okay scorer off the bench. He had the 1 fourth quarter in the playoffs and some seconds. So they basically gave up nothing. So Beal is the movable asset, but like you said, no trade clause. So where are you going to move him to?
A team he would want to go to? Like,
Miami. And he was that Miami was I believe was the other finalist in the Beal sweepstakes, and it seemed like they didn't really want him that badly. So if their offer was worse than what the Suns were giving him, clearly they didn't want him that bad to pair with Jimmy and pay the $60 million when it comes time. So who knows?
Seems like just poor management from the Suns here
Terrible.
when it comes to player management and coaching management.
Yeah, and like let's go flip side, Washington. Like for me, it was weird, and I right when I found out this happened, I texted Bailey, and I was like, "Why would you move him now when you finally gave him some pieces? Like you have had Kristaps, Porzingis, Kuzma was good at times, but was needing a contract. But those were pieces finally around him because once John Wall was gone, it was Bradley Beal,
Mm-hmm.
and so like I don't get why it's now the time to blow it up and move him. Like it just. And you're telling me no other team was like, we'll give you a first round pick. And again, trade costs from Bradley Beal, but like, I don't see a world where the Heat weren't like, okay, yeah, we'll give him a first. Like, I feel like a first is more valuable than any of those assets that they got.
Yeah, it could have been like Kyle Lowry in a first, and that was probably a done deal. Like that's literally all they needed to give up. I bet when they saw the Suns package, they were like, "What the hell?"
I think it's just all Beal.
Yeah,
really, because I couldn't imagine an offer worse from Miami.
yeah,
It's really tough.
Because it's like Miami has those depth pieces that they can move. Like we've talked about that they could move for like a Damian Lillard or like a Kyrie Irving maybe. And like so they have the pieces to move and to give the Wizards a start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like I don't know what either of them are doing because now Washington, like I think they're back to being one of the worst teams in the league, and they
Oh, they're
were
probably the
consistently,
worst.
they were like consistently maybe a play-in team the last couple of years. If Beal was not injured, like
Mm-hmm.
now they are the probably worst team in the NBA, like roster wise.
Yeah, and the thing I least understand this from Washington is why didn't you do this a year ago to put yourself in the Wembanyama sweepstakes?
Yeah,
Why? That makes no sense. That is actually probably almost worse than what the Suns are doing right now. How do you not put yourself in contention for one of the three most engaging and insane prospects we've seen in the last 20 years, maybe even 30, and you're just like, we'll wait and we'll see what Beal and Porzingis can do. No one ever thought that was going to be anything more than like a 6 seed. So why wouldn't you move off your pieces a year ago, get more value for Beal, get more value for Porzingis, and try and get yourself Victor Wembanyama or Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, who can be a legit perennial all-star point guard. None of that makes any sense to me. That's almost worse than what anything Phoenix has done in the last 3 months.
what a time! What a time! Well, we'll shift to the other Washington trade. Bailey, your team's involved. Take the floor, man. Like
You want to
you
lay out
gotta
the
be
trade?
hyped. You gotta
Lay
be
out the trade?
hyped.
And it gets worse for Washington.
You want to give the details? You want me to do the details?
Yeah, I can do details. So pretty much there was another trade in place, and the Clippers said, "Nope, we don't trust the health of Brogdon for the Celtics." Valid, whatever. I get it. Whatever you want to do. So this was the finalized trade because there was talks of just Celtics and Wizards will figure it out, but it felt like they needed a third team to get this done. They found that suitor in the Memphis Grizzlies. So the Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks. One tomorrow night at 25, and then a future pick from the Golden State Warriors. So the Celtics get the best player in the steal and 2 firsts. We'll get to that in a minute. The Grizzlies get Marcus Smart. Maybe shades of you're going to be without John Morant for 25 games. Maybe
And Dylan Brooks replacement.
And a Dylan Brooks replacement to be that dog on that team. And then the Wizards. Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, who hasn't been relevant in 5 years, and Thunder legend Mike Muscala,
Yeah, baby.
and a bunch of seconds. Maybe
A
they got picked
a
35
second.
tonight. I mean, yeah.
Tonight,
Um,
yeah.
Honestly, with the way the Wizards organization is, they might have mistaken Mike Muscala for Michael Jordan. I mean, they might as well be deaf and blind.
Because they already had him once. That's probably who they thought they were getting.
Oh.
Good Lord. I mean, we can talk about okay, so between your two stars last year, Beal and Porzingis, who you've traded in a span of a week, you got CP3, who's probably going to get waived, Shamit, 3 seconds, and some swaps, which are also seconds, Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, and Mike Muscala, and 35 tonight. So 4 seconds, 3 guys who are probably going to get cut, Shamit and Tyus Jones.
Whole lot of mediocre.
For your entire franchise. Your franchise is going to be some second-round picks coming up. Do they have 7?
I think in total around 7.
Or they're in the top 12. They have a top 12 pick, and that's it.
Maybe they saw Jokic win the finals and they went, "Hey, we'll just pick up a Jokic with every second-round pick."
We'll get it during a Taco Bell
6 years. Yeah,
they're going to quantity over quality with their pick selection. It makes no sense. They've disassembled their entire franchise. I mean, who's even going to be like the projected one next year? Whatever it is, it's not Wembanyama. So they're going to be in contention for whoever the number 1 draft pick is next year. But the rumor on the street, at least from what I'm hearing, is that Scoot Henderson's going to be better than any of those prospects coming in next year.
Yeah, I think next year's class is supposed to be a pretty weak draft class.
Yeah, that's also what I'm hearing. So maybe they trade up to 3 and work a deal. I mean, Dame to Washington. I'm sure he'd be excited about that. But
yeah,
you're funny.
From one poverty franchise to another.
Even worse situation.
The East Coast version of the Blazers.
I guess they'd be getting 3, so Dame probably wouldn't be in that trade. But it'd be like Kuzma and
who's not under contract.
Kuzma and like 6 seconds for Dame or for number 3.
Yeah, they're packing up the seconds to go get number 3.
Yeah,
they're looking for.
Keep in mind that's a compelling trade compared to Zion Williamson or literally the future.
Jaylen Brown.
Literally the future of any team, but hey,
Jalen Green, LaMelo Ball,
Kuzma and a bunch of seconds looks really promising.
It's looking good.
Jesus Christ.
So, who knows what the Wizards are going to do?
They're going to be dog shit.
They're going to be horrifically terrible next year. They're probably going to take last in the East. Orlando will beat them in a game by like 30 points. It's going to be really bad. So, Wizards fans, I pray for you if there are any of those still left after the past week. Grizzlies. I kind of like Smart on their roster. Hurts as a Celtics fan, I thought Smart was going to be a Celtic for lifer. I thought Isaiah Thomas was also going to be that, though, after we got him. So hopefully Tatum and Brown are. Seems like Horford's going to finish out his career in Boston, which will be nice. But at least we don't have to deal with the 32% from 3 crap anymore and him taking like double the amount of clutch shots than Tatum and Brown, like combined. That's kind of atrocious. So at least we don't have to worry about like the offense running through Marcus Smart in the clutch. That's kind of like out, which I think is a huge plus for Boston's crunch time numbers. So like the thing we bashed Boston for coming, not even for the Miami series, but coming into the Miami series was being able to close games out. And Marcus Smart was taking a bunch of those shots and they probably weren't even, I'm sure you could go through the advanced stats. I'm sure the contest rates on those, high, not good looks. So,
they weren't.
Smart did have a dimension to this offense where he would actually get post-up looks, and he would post up guys like Kyle Lowry or Gabe Vincent in that series, and he killed them down low, but we never went to that consistently enough for it to be like, we got to keep him for this one specific thing outside of his defense and his leadership, right? So I think Smart on the move, while it hurts emotionally, I actually think it could be good for the roster. I would have preferred Brogdon, I think, But also, if Brogdon's healthy, you're getting 40% from three, 80-some% from the line, a secondary ball handler, and a sixth man of the year. So who may start, may come off the bench still if Boston still wants to go two bigs, which brings me into Porzingis. The two big lineup could work. You can move Porzingis to the four. You can start Rob Williams. You can if Porzingis and Al Horford are on the court together at the same time, I don't want to see that. But
No.
that's just two big slow guys that I don't want. Like Miami, I think could kill that. But now you get to run a legit 5-out offense. And now you get to sub in Rob Williams. If you want to run screen and roll with Rob Williams, you get to run screen and fade with Porzingis. There's so many options offensively for this unit. They could be scoring 130 points a game during the regular season next year. They could be so legit offensively. I'm trying to think of ways of how you stop them. And if Porzingis is shooting 38% from three again next year, it's going to be really tough to stop.
Yeah, a really good Boston team this year. It looks like they just got even better.
Well, and it's like we were talking about a couple podcasts ago. It's like, where does Boston go from here? And Bailey, you content, stay the course. Like, it'll work. But they go out and make a move for a guy who, at times in his career, has been but there's been other times where, like, all-star potential, kind of stuff like that. So, I mean, clearly they got the better end of this deal. They have a great starting five now. When you look at that, if it's Brogdon, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Rob Williams, that's a big starting lineup, especially out east, where who knows what anyone is out in the East right now, kind of a deal. So, if I'm a Celtics fan, I would be ecstatic because it's a lengthy shooting big that isn't Al Horford.
Yeah.
That has the potential because he's younger.
And we look at like what the Celtics were doing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Al Horford was playing almost 40 minutes a night, and he's almost 38 years old. So you're going to be able to restrict his minutes, get him down towards like the 25 range where he can still make an impact. If he's shooting great, you can leave him in, all that jazz. Be more of a coach as well on the bench. Kind of see him in that transition role. I think that's going to be huge. Now you get some more length for guys like Embiid. Now you can have a 7'3" guy on Embiid. It's not like Porzingis is a terrible defender. He's actually an above average rim protector. So you can take
Especially
him off the dribble, but in the paint, he's solid. So I like that there. I like this trade all the way around. And then the 2 firsts. Like we're getting 2 firsts in this deal too. We're going to be able to add another bench piece. I like Pritchard as the backup point. I think it smooths out the guard rotation. You don't have to force White or Brown, or not Brown, Brogdon into scenarios that you don't want to. Pritchard has been primed for these minutes to get 15, 20 minutes coming in as a backup for 3 years now. So he can now step into that role. You don't have to force Marcus Smart and play him when you don't want to in crunch time. And like you said, you can go 2 bigs, or the lineup's extremely versatile. You can go small and go White, Brogdon, Brown, Tatum at the 4, Porzingis at the 5, and just be insane offensively. And now with Porzingis, you can almost enhance the Joe Mazzulla thing of wanting to shoot. And they're going to live and die by the 3. That's Mazzulla's thing. So you might as well just get the best 3-point shooters out there that you could possibly get your hands on. And Porzingis is one of the best, if not maybe even the best, outside of probably Karl Anthony Towns, one of the best 3-point shooters as a big that was available on the market. And he's the most versatile defensively as well at 7'3". So I love it.
Hey, and Cat's a generational player, man. We're gonna remember him from a long time. So we will remember Porzingis for a long time.
Everyone's gonna know he changed the game.
Yeah, he changed the game. Like that's
What podcast did he say that? Was that like Paul George's podcast or something?
Pat Bev's podcast.
It was Pat Bev's podcast. Jesus.
Because also in that same podcast, Pat Bev goes, "Oh, he's the best center in the league," and then Jokic goes and wins a championship the next day, Finals MVP, probably best player in the league, and he's in the same conference division Got
They
to see
played
him like
him in the
6 times a year.
playoffs. Jokic averaged like 35, 12, and 12.
But that's not as memorable and as accomplishing as that 2022 Timberwolves play-in run.
Oh, what a run. What a run. It was like a playoff game.
It was magical.
It was
Pat Bev.
like a playoff game.
It was so close to a playoff game. It could have been just like a playoff game. Oh, wait, it wasn't. Holy, wow.
Dude, what's up with like the player takes? Like, I don't know if you saw it like a month ago. Paul George called Jalen Green the king of Houston. He's played one season there, and they were like the worst team in the West. Flipping
Hey.
Brandon Miller today,
Yeah, I was just going to say Brandon Miller today.
calling Paul George the greatest player of all time.
He's my GOAT.
He's my GOAT.
And did you hear the questions about they were asking him like, because Michael Jordan was at his workout, and they're like, oh well, what did MJ say to you? He's like, well, you know, I kind of just treat it as normal trash talk. You know, MJ's kind of a normal guy, and I'm like, oh, he's like Paul George, and he's like, I grew up watching Paul George, not MJ, so.
Brandon was 3 plus 2.
24.
GOAT.
GOAT.
He went to Arkansas, so I mean,
Alabama.
oh, bam. Oh, well, same thing.
Same range.
Worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That math
worse.
adds up perfectly.
Speaking of Brandon Miller, draft transition.
Draft transition.
Let me show my screen.
Avery, do you need to go?
No, let's start her off. Let's get her going.
Ooh.
Oh, heck yeah.
Apparently, I'm not entirely ready. There we go. Bam. Allow.
Allow it.
Maybe.
It's thinking.
It's wanting to. One sec. We're going to get a screen up, though, guys, of the mock draft. Fine. We can talk about the one pick.
Hey, and this will show that we don't edit anything.
Mm-hmm. We can
We
talk about
don't
the one
have-
pick. We already know who that's going to be.
Oh, yeah, Scoot Henderson. Oh, wait. Oh, no, not at 1. Oh, yeah. That dude out of France. Oh, yeah, Victor Wembanyama is going to go 1.
Mhm.
Most likely.
Most likely.
I think the
If
odds
he-
right now is Wembanyama is at minus 30,000. So,
Like,
sure as you will.
like the way I look at it is the Spurs are like, I know they're not great right now, but like they're not dysfunctional like Washington. Like they're gonna make the right pick because they've done it twice before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that's. I mean, it's gonna be Victor Wembanyama. Like he's generational. He is so good offensively. It just scares me defensively because I think these bigger centers are going to kind of dominate him, especially out west. But, I mean, you take the upside, he'll get in a weight room. Pop knows how to develop. It's as simple as that.
We lose Avery. My lost Avery. Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
It's all right. I'll shoot him a text. But yeah, Wembanyama is the most insane prospect. Oh, there he is.
He's back.
And I'm back.
But he is the most insane prospect I've seen in 20 years since LeBron. That was 2003, right? So yeah, 20 years. You know, he's only 7'5". He only has a wingspan of 7'8", maybe up to 8 feet is some of the rumors. He can only guard. Not only can he guard the paint, block shots, but he could probably guard the rim and the 3-point line at the same time. I guarantee you there will be plays this year where Wembanyama guards the rim, takes 2 steps out, and contests or even tips a shot out on the corner 3. Guarantee it. It's gonna happen. Defensively, he's guaranteed. I might bet him to win Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie.
Sheesh.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's over 3 blocks a game.
Yeah.
With
that
relative
length.
ease. If he stays healthy for the 65 games or whatever with the new CBA, you have to play 65 games to win an award or make All-NBA team and stuff like that. If he plays 65 games, Wembanyama will be in my top 3 picks to win Defensive Player of the Year next year.
Hot take.
Is it?
A little
He's
bit.
a rookie playing in San
Just
Antonio.
rookie, you know.
Yeah,
Rookie
he's a
shtick.
rookie, but
He is 7'5" with an 8-foot wingspan.
let's try.
Who can move faster than a lot of guys.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, his quickness is, like, when you can take those kinds of strides, like, his quickness is unreal. Like, he might be in bad defensive position, but because of his length and all that, will get back and contest a shot or block it, like Bailey was saying. Like, he's that dude you make in my career if you only made him 180 pounds. Like, it's, oh no.
Yeah, we keep rolling. Keep going.
Yeah, let's just keep, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, what do we do?
It's going to be a technical difficulty podcast.
Hey, it'll show we don't edit. That's
Yeah.
but yeah,
Look at that.
Victor is just he's something special, man. I don't know if it's gonna pan out early. I think he will struggle early in his career. It won't be pretty, I think, for maybe the first two, but it's all gonna come down to what type of coaching he's gonna get, and he has the best coach in the NBA right now. So
Yeah, and I can see like him struggling against matchups like Embiid or Jokic in his first year. You know, I think it's going to take some getting used to with these other bigger bigs in the league that have more weight to them. Who, I mean, especially Jokic. I mean, he's just absurd. His moves, his bag, and Embiid's athleticism and just strength. But I think after those growing pains, he's going to be probably the best defender big in the league.
And yeah, I think he'd be right there with Anthony Davis. Like, not saying he can stop. He'll be able to come in as a rookie and stop Embiid and Jokic like Anthony Davis has the potential to do. He's not going to do that as a rookie. Like, I think we have to temper our expectations. He's not going to come in and average 27, 14, and 3 with 3 blocks and 2 steals a game. He's not going to do that.
no.
But if he averages 18 and 12 with like 2.5 blocks a game, that's an incredible rookie season. That's a lock for Rookie of the Year. We just saw Banchero come in and average 20 a game. With what it seemed like he did it on a regular basis. So
And no one was talking about it because he was in Orlando.
yeah, and exactly. So I think you brought up a great point too, Logan. Wembanyama is going to get put in all the right positions with Popovich as your coach. He's going to know how to use them. I'm sure he already has 50 ideas on how he's going to use Wembanyama offensively and defensively, and we're not even in summer league yet. So,
Do you think it's
yeah.
do you think it's interesting that he's not going to play summer league? Like, he's made it known he's not going to play in the summer league.
Oh, really? I thought he said he was going to play a game
Okay, a game.
or 2 or whatever. I think it's only like 5 games long, isn't it?
Well, then they have the tournament in Vegas, so it's like I don't know. To me, it's interesting. It's
You see the
I don't
screen?
know. Yeah, I can see it. I would be getting him out there and playing right away, but I mean, maybe they have a plan that we don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll only help him to play in the summer league.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. You just don't want him getting hurt is the only thing, and I think that's the only risk that comes with Wembanyama is, we just watched Chet do it, and Wembanyama's 4 inches taller and like 20 pounds heavier. They're the same type of build, and Chet was out in the Drew League. He got injured playing in the Drew League, so you just don't want Wembanyama getting hurt before the season even starts because, like we see with Chet, it's already a wasted season for him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's the obvious one pick.
Yep.
Lock it in. Then we got Charlotte here. So we're not doing any trades, but 2 and 3 are good odds of being traded. It's going to depend on value, obviously, for some of these teams, but we're going to keep them all in place. We're going to act like there's no trading. So for Charlotte, we're going to go Brandon Miller, small forward out of Bama. I just think really for Charlotte, after Victor goes, it's 1A, 1B, and you already have LaMelo Ball, so you don't need a point guard right now. And you are struggling at the wing position if you're Charlotte, because you don't know what's going to happen with Bridges, and really you don't have much outside of that, because you've invested in guards the last few drafts with a James Bouknight and LaMelo Ball. So you don't need a guard. I think Scoot's the better player, don't get me wrong. It's not a fit for Charlotte at the current moment.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And yeah, with Miller, I think Miller is I think he's a more unique talent than Scoot Henderson, which is why I think his upside at 2 is a little more interesting to say the least. Because it's hard to find a 6'9" wing that can shoot, that can go off the dribble, shoot pull-up jump shots. And he was the guy at Alabama. He was the reason why they were arguably the best basketball program through the regular. I'm not arguably, they were the 1 seed going to the NCAA tournament, and that was because of Brandon Miller. So, just his ability to shoot the ball from the outside at his wingspan at 6'9", that's a really hard. Those are hard characteristics to find. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago. Boston passed on Markelle Fultz to draft Jason Tatum. So this is kind of a similar situation with Charlotte here, where they're probably going to pass on a guy like Scoot Henderson as athletically gifted as he is, for a guy who's maybe a little bit more unique of a talent and can fit their roster a little bit better.
Well, heck yeah. So 1 and 2 seems pretty simple. I think we're going to keep it simple here at 3. Portland's going to take Scoot Henderson, and they'll figure it out from there. It's going to be a lot of guards on that team with Scoot, Dame, Simons, and it's going to be interesting to see if any of them move, if they figure it out and they all stay together. I don't know what Portland's going to do, but if they're not trading the pick, you're going to take the best player on the board, and that's what Scoot Henderson is.
Yep, completely agree. You just gotta take Scoot and go from there. I mean, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You take anyone else than Scoot, and he turns out just a fraction of what he is there. I don't know. I have no idea what they're gonna do with Dame here, but I think you just ride it out for this first year if you're not wanting to trade Dame, and you look at your roster from there and you make changes.
Yeah. The whole Dame situation is so weird, just because it seems like they don't want to move off of Damian Lillard. I mean, I saw the Woj report today that said they're denying all trade talks for Damian Lillard as of right now. So I don't know if they're expecting Brandon Miller to fall to 3, or if they're just going to go out and draft a guy like Cam Whitmore or draft a guy like Taylor Hendricks at 3. But then it's like you're passing up on insane value. Why wouldn't you just trade down from 3? But it doesn't want to seem like they want to trade down from 3. I don't really know if they fully understand like the situation they're in right now. This is like a franchise altering decision that they have had 3 months to prepare for, and it still seems like they have no idea what the hell they're going to do, except for the one certainty is that they're going to keep Damian Lillard, which seems like the worst decision out of all of them, because Dame's almost 32, 33. There's no real assets that you can go out and get and say, bam, Portland's instantly a contender with that guy on their roster, except I would have one exception and say Zion. But it doesn't sound like they're going to trade 3. So what the hell are you going to do with Dame, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, 4 guards that are 6'4" and under, and play absolutely zero defense? We saw it with McCollum and Lillard. They got shredded in the Western Conference Finals by Curry, Clay, and Durant. Granted, it's Curry, Clay, and Durant, but you still get the point. You can't guard any of those guys. So now you're going to have 2 backcourts. You're going to double down on the Dame CJ thing, with your backups also being, in the NBA, quote-unquote, midgets, basically. So I don't understand anything of what Portland is doing here. Scoot Henderson has to be the pick just because of the value. And Scoot Henderson, even though he's 3 here on this draft board, I think in the next 2 years he's probably the best prospect left outside of Brandon Miller and Victor Wembanyama. And I personally like Scoot Henderson more than Brandon Miller. So just the athletic gifts, The shot is going to come. I think that's something he's going to grow with and work at. But the athletic gifts are just they're flying across the board, and the eye test tells you that he's actually an elite passer as well. He's much more than just a rim runner and a finisher. He's a legit playmaker that can run a legit NBA offense, which I think is almost more valuable than the athletic talent that he has. So, while he, I think, is the worst fit in Portland, he's by far and away the best talent left on the board.
Well, yeah, and when you cut out for a second, I made the comment that, like, it's going to take Victor time. I think Scoot will hit the ground running and be, I think, phenomenal. I think maybe 2 years from now, you're like, oh, maybe he is better than, like, Victor at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a long game. There's development, whatever. And it all depends on situation. If you look at it the way we have it set up, Victor's in a much better situation because, again, we don't know what the hell Portland is going to do. And you just sit there and maybe they are waiting to the last second. And we don't know. But it seems like you got so lucky because you were projected pick 9 and you jump to 3.
Yeah.
To get one of the 3 generational talents in this class, and you still don't know what you're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that was almost unexpected for them. Like, I almost guarantee the idea before they jumped up to 3 was to trade Lillard. It had to be, because what else were you going to do? But now that they have the number 3 overall pick, it was like, well, maybe we can do something with it. And maybe I'm over exaggerating a little bit as far as like the time goes. Maybe they just draft Scoot, say we have the value. It's basically like a number 3 pick. And we'll sit and wait and wait and wait until we find something we really like. But it's like, why wouldn't you just trade the pick?
Why wouldn't you go get a guy when teams want the pick?
Exactly.
Because, like, the talks of, like, they're working to try to, like, it feels like the only player they are trying to trade for is Bam. And I don't think Miami's going to do that because Miami wants Dame.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just not going to happen. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, why would Miami trade Bam? They were just in the finals.
Exactly.
They've been in the last 3 conference finals. That trade makes absolutely no sense. As far if I'm Pat Riley, why would I ever do that?
Pick 3, man.
Yeah.
So then, after the top 3 generational talents, we have Houston. I think their last 2 picks have been really well. I think Jabari Smith was a great pick. I think Jalen Green was a great pick. They got Şengün, I think 2 years ago. So where do you go from here? There's a glaring hole on this team, and it's point guard. And Jalen Green can be a ball handler, but I think it's really going to come down to they need a point guard. Now, them maybe moving up to 3 if Portland doesn't know what they want to do to maybe take a Scoot. They would have to pay a lot probably for it, but that could be a move. But I think we're going to give him Amen Thompson, I believe, right? Point guard out of the G League Elite, Overtime Elite. I don't know how that really all works, but they need guard help in the worst way because they were running John Wall to start the year last year.
Kevin Porter Jr. Because John Wall started on the Clippers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they have no guard really, and outside of Scoot, Amen's the best one. So you go get the position in need.
Yeah, I really think with Amen, I personally like him a touch more than his twin brother. I like the physical gifts a little bit more, but I really like the fact that he plays point guard a little bit more. And at 6'7", that is that height and at that position, it's becoming a little more common. Like you see the Cade Cunninghams of the world and stuff like that, the Josh Giddeys, those kinds of players. But Cade nor Giddey has the jumping ability of Thompson, has the ability to run up and down the court, and I think you could see some with him and Jalen Green. You could see, I think, an actual offense get ran instead of back and forth ISO ball, and I think you could see a lot of tempo being pushed. kind of like the Lonzo Zion connection that we saw in New Orleans for a little bit. I think you could see that with Thompson and Jalen Green. The big worry is, can you shoot the three ball? And then the overtime program, which is basically like, it's basically overtime, the Instagram account or whatever, they basically pay people to go play in their league. It's a bunch of high school talent or college talent that's looking to go into the NBA or get recruited into college, stuff like that. So it's an interesting
The
little
more you
league.
know.
But I think there could be some real highlights there. But he's just got to be able to shoot the ball better. He's not good from the line. He's terrible from the line, which the best scorers in the league make their money from the line. We saw with Jimmy Butler, James Harden in his prime. Durant gets to the line a ton. The best scorers go to the free throw line, and he shoots 65% from the line, so he's got to improve there. And he shoots 26% from three, which in the modern NBA is absolutely downright atrocious. So that's got to get fixed too. But the height, the athletic ability at that position, those are all huge pluses.
All right, pick
Well,
5.
Before we head on the pick 5, I gotta head out.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys for having me on.
Peace, Avery.
Much
Talking
love,
to you guys.
Avery.
Peace out. Yep. Peace.
And one fallen soldier.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, alrighty. Pick 5, Detroit, the Pistons. Outside of Cade Cunningham, man, this team is.
Yeah. Jaden
They took a
Ivey.
bunch of Jaden Ivey. They took a bunch of rejects that were high picks.
James
Marvin
Wiseman.
Bagley, James Wiseman, like.
There's
So
something there. There's a little bit of something.
they are a young team. They bring in Monty Williams, so we'll see what that does.
They got a lot more
But-
than Washington.
They will not be the worst team in the East. I can assure you that. So I don't remember we had them going. We didn't give them Thompson.
We're going right here.
Oh, Cam Whitmore, small forward, Villanova. I think that is a depth position that they need to fill because they have Bogdanovich right now, and he's 30 plus.
Yep.
He's a great shooter. He'd be a great bench piece on a team that can contend. But when you're looking at Detroit, they're young. They're looking to build this core up. That's what tanking will do and being bad will do is you get a bunch of young pieces that you hope will grow together. And I think again, this is a Detroit pick that will just blend well with the other picks they've already brought in Ivy and Cunningham.
Yeah. Same thing with Whitmore. Like, man, this is such a tall class for these backcourt players. I mean, of course, Levinyama at center at 7'5" or whatever absurd number he stands at. Which did you see him grab a baseball the other day at the Yankees
Didn't he
game?
have like 2 in his hand and they looked like
His hand wraps all the way around a baseball to where his middle finger and his thumb like literally touch.
Well, he can't pitch, so
No, he can't. Can't throw a slider or a fastball, but for him,
But
it's
he
like
can
trying to
shoot.
throw like a marble. So,
which I would have probably missed that bat too if I was throwing a marble.
yeah. But with Cam Whitmore, 6'7", his ability to drive the hole, with his kind of prowess and strength, is something that I think Detroit really needs. Like you have Cunningham, and you have Ivy, but from their wing positions, they're kind of weak. Like you said, they have Bogdanovich, but he can't really get out and defend. They need someone more physical out there on the wings. That's what the Bad Boy Pistons were made out of. Mark Aguirre, Vinnie Johnson, Joe Dumars. You had elite defenders with some physical intensity there. That's what Detroit's kind of made their money off of. 2004, same thing when they beat the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. You had Rasheed Wallace, you had Tayshaun Prince, you had Rip Hamilton. All those guys could defend. That's how Detroit has made their money, is with defense. Of course, you bring in Monty Williams, but and to help that and gear all these younger guys up. But I also like the offensive talent that Whitmore brings to the table, and he actually does kind of give me some Mark Aguirre in there. So I like the fit with Cunningham running the 1. You fill a wing with Whitmore at the 3 hole, Ivy running your 2, Wiseman at the 5. You have a young core that you can really build around.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Orlando, we almost had two brothers in the top 5, but we're going to have a Sir Thompson go here. Do the Orlando Magic. For me, the Magic they have so many guards that have been so good, like in college basketball, and none of them have panned out. And I feel like this is kind of similar to a Portland pick. He's the best player available. You figure it out from there. And he's got the length. He can shoot. He shoots better than his brother, I believe, right?
Just slightly. They're both not great shooters, but just slightly from three, and they're actually about the same from the line.
So like, you're getting a little more offense out of him, which I think Orlando does need. Just because you're not getting it from Suggs, you're not getting it from Cole Anthony right now. Yeah,
Markel.
I think Markel Fultz. They are eerily similar to what Portland would have going on if this mock hits. So, take your best player available and just figure it out from there.
Yeah, I mean, him and his brother play very similarly. Not as I think he's a little bit worse of a ball handler. He's not made to be a one. I think you can convert him into a one if need be, but Orlando doesn't need to do that in any kind of scenario. You have Cole Anthony, you have Markel, you have Jalen Suggs, all of which are much smaller than 6'7". So he can be your permanent two, and bring some more athletic ability, bring some defense there. They're super high potential. The slight downside is him and his brother Amen are both 20 years old already. Which is kind of unique. All these other guys that you're going to see get drafted here, like Walker, Black, Hendricks, they're all 18, 19 years old, which is insane to think about. They're younger than freaking us already, and they're getting drafted in the NBA. But
Yeah,
already there, dude. We're already there. But
I feel old.
Yeah, he plays very similarly to his brother. Slightly better shooter, but a slightly worse ball handler. Maybe even a little bit better defender though too as well.
Well, I feel like depending on what Orlando does, he doesn't need to be the primary ball handler because of all the guards.
No.
Exactly. All right. Pick 7, the Indiana Pacers. You kind of look at this team. They invested in Benedict Mathurin last year at the wing, so that's not going to be the pick. I feel like they have guard figured out, but you look down low, and I swear to God, every year a Miles Turner trade comes up, and they have nothing at power forward right now. So they need a big, and I think outside of Victor, this guy's a stud out of UCF. Taylor Hendricks. I was really hoping this guy was going to fall somehow and end up either in Utah or OKC, but he is so, like, watching his tape, he is so explosive for a guy that's 6'9" and was at a smaller school. He's a jump out the gym kind of guy. And I feel like he'll mesh well with what Indiana has going. I think him and Halliburton could have a fun pick and roll, just like him and Miles Turner do right now. And again, it's a position of need. It's arguably the biggest position of need for the Pacers. And you're going to get them at 7, and a lot of teams are going to be giving you calls because I think teams are going to be trying to move up for him. And either Indiana is going to bite or they just take him.
Yeah, I think with the pick of Taylor Hendricks here, you have someone who's incredibly young, 19 years old, but the potential here is Rob Williams with a 3-point shot. Which if Rob Williams could shoot the 3 for Boston, we wouldn't even needed to trade for Porzingis. But
And what had 3 championships.
Yeah, we would have beat Miami. So I don't know if we would have beat. I don't think we would have beat Denver this year. But I think that's the potential for Hendricks here. He averaged 2 blocks a game in college, shot 40% from 3, and he's a smaller big, which is what the NBA is kind of transitioning to, outside of like the Chet Holmgrens and the Victor Wembanyama's of the world. Like you look at Bam, he's 6'8", Raul Williams 6'8". Those smaller defensive rotational guys that you can have and switch on to guards and feel at least somewhat comfortable about it. Those are huge values come playoff time if you can switch pick and rolls with relative ease. Because you look at Denver, what was their number one action? it was Murray and Jokic pick and roll. So you have to be able to stop somewhat of that defensively, and you fill a positional need. Jalen Smith could come in and be an instant starter. So that's a huge plus for a guy that you're taking with a top 7 pick as well. For Indiana, he could play great with Tyrese Halliburton, could play great with Buddy Hield, can help space the floor and defend with Miles Turner. So I think with Indiana also having Miles Turner there, you can have 2 bigs that can shoot the 3 and switch on defensively and be a plus there as well.
Yeah, I think they got something cooking in Indy. I think this is the pick they needed. And they hit last year with Mathurin. So, yeah. Okay, so the Wizards, the future dumpster fire of the NBA. You trade your best player in Bradley Beal, who's a guard. I want to read this lineup before we make this pick. It's going to be Anthony Black, the guard out of Arkansas. But this lineup is disgusting.
Ooh.
Like,
no. Here, can I go back?
I think you can undo pick. I think it's undo previous pick, top
there
left.
Bang. There we go. Go ahead.
Look how disgusting this lineup's going to be. DeLon Wright will be your starting point guard.
I don't know if these are in order. These in order? Because, like, I've never heard of Jordan Shackle in my life.
I was going to say, never heard of him.
It'll be Kispert.
Yeah, exactly. Anthony Black will be your shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
Kispert, probably Avija at power forward because they don't have Porzingis. They're probably not bringing back Kuzma. They traded Isaiah Todd in this trade as well. They traded him somewhere. In one of the 2 they did.
Memphis.
Phoenix, right?
Or Phoenix, yes. Phoenix, yeah.
So then you're going to roll out, I don't know, NBA veteran Taj Gibson at your power forward and Daniel Gafford at center. My God, that is terrible. That is worse than that Charlotte team. I swear to God, because at least I knew guys on the Charlotte team. This team is terrible.
So you think they win less games than the Charlotte team?
It wouldn't shock me. I'm not even kidding.
I'm hearing betting tickets to bet on Washington to be the worst team in the league next year.
Oh, 100%. Their only bright spot's going to be Anthony Black, and he's going to get the Bradley Beal treatment. He's going to get doubled every time he touches the ball.
And what sucks for Washington, too, is they didn't even hit on their pick last year, which was Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. He put up historic levels of bad efficiency offensively. He was horrific from the field, horrific from 3, and he's a smaller guard, so he's not awesome defensively either. At least with Black, you have high athletic potential. He's 6'7", has wingspan, can defend, can't also, much like the taller guards in this, like the Thompson twins, can't shoot as well, but he shoots better than 26% from 3, and can make it somewhat of an impact offensively on a team that's like, he's going to be their number 1 scorer probably next year if they don't bring back Kuzma.
Oh, 100%.
And if you're Washington, you actually probably want to keep Kuzma. Say, go out and try and average 25 a game, so that way we can trade you for at least something. Come trade deadline.
Get the value.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a ton of cap, probably.
Oh, like, they're going to be so far under. I think the minimum that you have to hit is like 120. They're probably going to scrape by at 120.
Yeah. They're going to give Kuzma a supermax. Kyle Kuzma, Utah alum, will get a supermax in the NBA. I never thought I'd see the day. To make the money work, they damn near have to.
Almost, yeah.
All right, let's go to Utah. When you look at Utah, there's holes. But I think they overachieved last year. I think that's a fair assumption. I think Lauri Markkanen really stepped in, was an all-star. I don't think anyone saw that coming from a guy who was not very good in his NBA career up to last year. Walker Kessler was a bright spot, was a great rookie for Utah. They hit on their pick, and they've got, 3 in this draft?
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to hit, hopefully, on 2 if track records kind of go the way they have been. We're only going to pick 12. I don't think we've mentioned that.
Yeah.
We're just going to go to pick 12.
Do the
so
lottery.
We won't get the other 2 Utah picks. So I think the natural thing here is to move Lauri Markkanen back to the small forward position. I think that's I think so, because aren't we giving them, I believe, Walker out of Houston. So I think that puts Markkanen flexibility back to the small forward, which he played to start his NBA career. Maybe that's not a good idea because he played so
7 foot
well
small
last year.
forward can't hurt.
Exactly. And you roll out a roster of, it's not going to be Chris Dunn at the starting guard. It'll be Colin Sexton, probably Clarkson with Horton Tucker coming off the bench, Markkanen, Walker, and Kessler.
Yeah.
Walker, Kessler twice.
Yeah.
That's a fun lineup. That's a fun young lineup for Utah, I think. I think this is a young freshman. He's not the biggest power forward, which can be concerning. So maybe you do keep Laurie there and maybe move him to the 3. I don't know. But I think Utah will take the best big/wing they can get, and I think that's Walker 100%.
Yeah, so I think Walker does 2 things for Utah here. Like you said with the Markkanen deal, it allows them to be very versatile in what kind of lineups they want to run out and come next year. And like you said, they have a pick at right here on the screen. They got 16 via the Minnesota Gobert deal, which is steal of the century, like literally. And the 28th pick via Philadelphia, which I don't remember that trade in particular. But
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, 16 with Minnesota. So, and you look down the board here. You got Jordan Hawkins, who
that would be such a good pick.
I love Jordan Hawkins. This dude's jumper is like picture perfect. I think I have a photo of it saved on my phone from the national championship game. Like his jumper is just so beautiful. But you have guards.
Dude, and Keontae George, he's good too. I love Keontae George out of Baylor.
Yep.
And like you look at the Michigan guys, Jet Howard, Kobe Buffkin, like there's guard depth down. And Utah, you could argue, needs guard depth.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 14 through 19, it's point guard, shooting guard, shooting guard, point guard, shooting guard. So at
they're bound
16,
to get one.
They're bound to get a guard. So I like the pick of the wing here, and Walker is a menace defensively. I don't know how high his potential is on the offensive side of the ball, but if you have the Nuggets proved it this year with Aaron Gordon. That dude's 6'8" and locked down. If you have one of those guys on your team that can guard the bigger wings, but you can switch them onto a big and a pick and roll and not really worry. Like you saw it in the Lakers series. He switched on to Anthony Davis a couple times and held his own. So I love Walker's his potential defensively is franchise altering. I think, to say the least.
I love hearing that as a closet Jazz fan from Utah. Pick 10, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Again, this is a team, if you look outside of Luka, there's not much, because it doesn't sound like they're bringing back Christian Wood by any means. I believe we went Derek Lively, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we did.
So Derek Lively, the center out of Duke. I think it's one of those picks where they need depth down low if they are not bringing back Christian Wood. You can figure out the wings later. You throw Kyrie at the shooting guard if you keep him, and you figure out a 3 later down the road. Maybe that's a free agent signing. I don't know who they could go out and get. Maybe that's where Kyle Kuzma ends up. Maybe they put him at the 3. But I think you got to get a lengthy dude that can play great defense, because you can never depend on Dwight Powell being healthy. And he's good when healthy. He just cannot stay healthy. So another big center would only help them defensively and pick and rolls with Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Lively, I'm not the biggest fan of personally. I mean, he went to Duke, but at 7'2", the height is definitely there. Granted, the stats weren't there from college, but he was not on that Duke team to be a scorer. That was for Jeremy Roach and all the veteran guys on that roster to come in and score the ball. And is it Kyle Filipowski that they had last year, which I think he's returning from Duke. He was their guy. He was their 18-10 guy last year for Duke. That was not Derek Lively. Derek Lively's there to bring length defensively, apparently he's working on his 3-point shot pretty heavily, which I hope so after shooting 15% from 3 in college. And then the NBA stretches you back another 2 feet. But I'm really just looking at this Mavericks team, just on paper right now. I freaking hate it. Like,
Oh yeah,
they got way too many of the same type of player, if you see what I mean. Like,
yes.
when you look at
Tim Hardaway and Reggie Bullock is
Kleber
the
and
same player.
Bertans. Kleber and Bertans, literally the same dude. Like, that's literally the same guy. They're both there to be stretch fours, and but you're not gonna have them both in the game at the same time. But you're paying them. I think Bertans is getting 20 million a year right now. So
And Kleber's getting paid what? Probably around 15.
yeah,
12
he's
or
probably up
15.
near 15, and now you're trying to move off Christian Wood. I have no idea what Dallas is doing right now. They're screwing Luka Doncic over right now with these teams that they're putting together for him because Kyrie Irving is not the answer.
No.
I would have liked them to actually go out and maybe get Marcus Smart. I thought that was a potential move. Tim Hardaway in 10, this pick right here that we're going to take as Derek Levy. Tim Hardaway in 10, go get Marcus Smart. I think that was definitely a viable option. Boston needed a little bit more shooting out of their guards, and they get a top 10 draft pick. And Dallas tries to fix the perimeter defense situation that they have because you look at all these 2 guards and none of them can defend. They got 6 2 guards on their roster, 4-point guards, even though their 2 best players are their 1 and their 2, and none of them can defend. So, maybe Lively is there to bring some more defensive flexibility, some length, actually guard the rim. Because JaVale McGee, they got him on a mid-level exception. He's probably not even really going to come back. And Dwight Powell, like you said, never healthy. Kleber, Bertans, Morris, and Wood are not doing that either. So they're incredibly one-dimensional. They're horrific defensively, and Lively can help that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this team right now, and it's one of those things where I go, you know what player's screaming to be a Dallas Maverick if they don't bring back Christian Wood?
Hit me.
John Collins. It is right there.
I like
I
that.
think John Collins on that Mavericks team, if you package, let's say you do a signing trade, Christian Wood in 10 to get John Collins in a future first from Atlanta, there's your Luka Doncic other play like guy to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have a lob threat to run the pick and rolls with. Like, you look at Harden in Houston, his guy was Clint Capella.
Yeah.
Like 8 of his assists a game were to Clint Capella off lobs, off pick and roll opportunities. So you need a guy like that can work the pick and roll with Luka, set hard screens, and roll hard. And if John Collins, he struggled from 3 ever since that wrist injury a couple years ago. If he can find the 3-point shot, he's a valuable asset. For sure.
Exactly. And it seems like every year he's the same deal with Miles Turner. It seems like every year we're talking about a John Collins trade that should happen, needs to happen, never happens.
Yep.
But I mean, maybe that's a move that gets done tonight. We'll see. Pick 11. So Orlando gets Sir Thompson. We're gonna double down and get Dick. We're gonna get Grady Dick, shooting guard out of Kansas. Dude's a scorer, man. He scores the ball in bunches. I'm not making any more. I want to, but I think Grady Dick to Orlando makes too much sense on this team, especially because you're not going to roll out Gary Harris as your shooting guard.
Yeah, I mean, as you see right here on your screen, Gary Harris, negative 2.05 LeBron, whatever that means.
What does LeBron mean? Like LeBron James? Like
I think it's like I think it's kind of like war or something like that. But Gary Harris worth negative 2 LeBrons apparently. But yeah, when we look at Grady Dick here, like you look at their 2 guards, like yes, I know we just took a Sar Thompson with the last pick, but you have flexibility here. I think you could almost run out like a super small lineup and just run Banchero at your 5. I think that's a legit option. So then you could run just like a wicked small lineup where no one's over 6'8". Miami was successful with that this year. they were running Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin, Bam Adebayo. That lineup right there got them to the finals. All those dudes are 6'9" and shorter. So
And Kyle Lowry.
And Kyle Lowry's your sixth man. And he's what, 6'1", 6'2"? So well, all these teams seems like they're zagging towards all this height at point guard. You can maybe see Orlando zig and go with some shorter, quicker players, and just the shooting potential. I think he honestly gets underrated as a rebounder. I mean, see it right here, 5.1 rebounds a game at Kansas.
And he's 6'7".
He's a 6'7", and he's a straight up scorer. So I think he can provide some much needed shooting to that backcourt, which is something that Orlando kind of lacks, because Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, they're not incredibly efficient shooters. They're really good playmakers. So while Cole Anthony's more of a quote unquote scorer, he's not a great shooter. So there's definitely a difference there. So I like the pick with Grady Dick there.
Heck yeah! All right, we get to the Thunder, man. Okay,
Let's pick.
My depth chart thing. I'm a strangle this website. This is not going to be a starting lineup for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
No.
I'm telling you right now. It's Shea. It's Josh Giddey. It's probably Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, whichever. Those five will probably be the starting lineup.
Yep.
And that's a pretty good young starting lineup. If I do say so myself. So originally, I was really hoping the kid from UCF would fall. He's not going to. Early in mocks, he kind of was just falling to OKC, and I loved it. But Bailey's got me.
His stock is skyrocketing.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Bailey's got me on this new guy, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. He's a Frenchman. He
Koulibaly.
played with Victor Wembanyama. What?
Koulibaly.
Bilal Koulibaly.
Yep.
Small forward out of France. He played with Victor Wembanyama, so we got to see a lot of tape from him. And honestly, he looked great. He is a bucket, man. He is. Ooh. He get like. This could be one of the better young teams. Like, they almost made a play-in spot, and they almost got that 8 seed. And you could argue the weakness was the shooting from the wings, I think. Because you get the defense from Lou Dort, no doubt. And this guy can shoot. And Jalen Williams. You get the shooting out of this kid.
Mm-hmm. What? Okay, this pick to me just screams OKC. It reeks of Oklahoma City in a good way. Because Oklahoma City's entire new game plan is drafting these lengthy, athletic freaks who can play positionless basketball. Chet Holmgren, this Jalen Williams they took last year, who was phenomenal.
Both of them.
I forget which Jalen it is. I think it's the one with Jaylin.
Yeah, because he was playing power forward. Yeah.
Yep. Giddey, 6'8", can play the 1 through the 4 basically. You can almost throw him as a Magic Johnson type role, playing through the power forward. And Chet. So
and Shea.
And Shea's gonna be your 1. He's the only like rock solid guy. He's gonna be your 1 no matter what, or your 2 if you want to run Giddey at the 1, right? But all these guys are playing positionless basketball. They're all lengthy. They're all really good at specific things, and Sam Presti is building this team to a T. This Koulibaly kid is on the same path. 6'7", 7'3" wingspan. I think that is so underrated. This dude is insanely lengthy. He makes insane athletic plays. And I think he's getting overshadowed by the fact that he just played on the same team as Wembanyama. Go watch the tape. This dude's a defensive freak. And he fills the one spot that OKC desperately needs, which is another kind of like Jalen Williams type player. So you could rock Shea, Giddey, Koulibaly, Jalen Williams, Chet, and that's your starting 5 right there. That is lengthy. That is athletic. They're going to be able to push the pace, and you have a closer that can get you 30 a night on 50% field goal shooting. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is your superstar. He is your bona fide superstar. He is your 1. And you can legit build a championship. I think you can build a championship team around Shea as your number one player. I think he's that good. I think he's going to be. I think by the end of this season here, we're going to be talking about Shea as a top 10, top 8 player in the league if OKC even gets out of the first round in the playoffs. So the potential is through the roof defensively with this kid and for this team, just with their length, their size, their athletic ability. And I really like their coach. And is it Diagonal?
Yeah, Diagonal.
He did a great job last year towards the end. I think this team is poised to explode this next year in the West. Look for them to be a 4 or 5 seed.
Exactly. As long as they all stay healthy, this team, you saw it in flashes. You just didn't see it with Chet Holmgren. Like,
Yeah. And there's
that's
only
it.
positives from that I think can come out, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, we've had a young super team. We've had our young big three, and it didn't work out. But through all of that, every one of them they've traded.
Mhm.
The value they have gotten from players, whether it's when we traded Westbrook or traded a Paul George or whatever,
Chris Paul.
or Harden, Chris Paul, they've gotten so much good value in return. Like, people underlook that Paul George move because that's where we got Shea and a shit ton of picks.
Yeah.
So you got Shea and picks.
Especially since the Clippers thing isn't working out. Like you got 5 picks plus swaps and Shea.
Like think of the teams you've made trades with. Houston, who's picking in the top 4 this year,
Mhm.
who will probably be a lottery team next year.
Yep.
The Clippers, who they are another bad injury year away from being a very bad team.
Yeah, they're 1 year away from blowing it up, and it sounds like they're considering blowing it up right now.
So when you look at, that's where your 2 big trade partners have come from in the last year or years or so. When you've gotten all these picks, I really wish they could have gotten one this year. That's my only complaint, but it is what it is. Like, they will be poised, and honestly, if I am them, I trade my picks for next year because, like we mentioned, I don't think next year's class is going to be that good. You might as well boot it down the road. We have picks where we're scouting 12-year-olds right now. Like, there's no harm in booting it down the road and rolling this team next year because it's not like our pick's going to be any good. I don't think OKC is going to be picking in the lottery next year.
Mhm.
So I don't see why you wouldn't. I think this is the year they go all in on their young talent, and
You should be incredibly excited.
Oh, I am. I've gone through some bad years lately,
Yep.
but I think the one bright spot has been Shea. And like how you mentioned earlier, how like you might go put money on Victor to win Depoy. Shea's a dark horse for me for MVP. If Chet Holmgren is healthy and he's running a pick and roll with Chet Holmgren, he's going to average those 8 assists to Chet Holmgren like a James Harden did to a Clint Capella, and he's going to have all the other pieces around him. When Giddey's on, he is unstoppable. I think Shea is probably one of my favorite dark horses for MVP this year.
I like it. I like it a ton.
Ooh, I get excited for like football to come back. Like, this is my first year in a while where I'm excited for the Thunder to put out a good young product.
Yeah, and I think Jalen Williams can honestly become the core of this team. Just with his defensive ability. And he developed so quickly in his first year. He's able to shoot the ball from 3. He can get his own shot. He's versatile defensively, and he's not bad when he guards the other positions. I think, and I've said defensive versatility probably 100 times in this pod, but if you can, it doesn't. I don't care if you can switch on to guys. It's can you switch on to guys and still be good at guarding the other guy that you're switching on to, right?
Yeah.
Like you can say anyone's versatile defensively, but like Lou Dort, versatile defensively. I don't really want Lou Dort on a center, right?
No.
So exactly, he's not gonna be good guarding a center. You can switch him on a 1 through 3, but Jalen Williams, you can have him be on a bigger 4, a 6'9", like an Aaron Gordon type. I think you could be okay with that. So yeah, there's so much potential for OKC next year. I'm very bullish on them. I'll probably be looking at some over/under win totals coming up for them, and playoff appearance type bets,
Mm-hmm.
placing those tickets down, stuff like that.
Yeah, and like you said, like they still do have Lee Dort. They extended him.
Mhm.
So either if he
On a
comes
good
off the bench
contract.
or yeah, exactly, a great contract. Or if Caleb Bally comes off the bench, like the Thunder could realistically have a dude that could win MVP, sixth man, and comeback player in Chet Holmgren.
And maybe even deploy with Jalen Williams. I think there's
Like
potential for that too.
the fact that a team could win like 4 awards, hell, throw Coach of the Year in. Like he
Yeah.
almost won it this year. Like
As a barely scratching potential 8 seed.
exactly. So, hey, we're looking bright here in OKC. I'm excited. I legitimately am super excited for Thunder basketball again because I thought that's what I was getting last year with Chet Holmgren, but obviously didn't play. And now I'm going to get double that. I'm going to get Chet this year and whoever we take at 12.
One last thing on OKC real quick. And this is not to blow away like any of the stuff we just talked about for literally like 10 minutes. One thing I slightly disagree with you about. I don't know how much farther you can push these picks down the road until it's like, hey, we have to cash in. And me and Avery were talking on the back end a couple days ago. I'm sure he was going to voice this sentiment, so I will for him. Maybe cash in on Brandon Miller. 6'9" wing, shoots the lights out, could be a awesome co-partner with Shea. I mean, his all his NBA comps, if you go look at the mock drafts, are Paul George. Funny enough. So I think he could really work well with Shea
I
and Chet.
I I think for me,
Agree.
I think it's a great fit. I am so worried about off the court issues with him. Like
Mm.
I really am, and I don't know if it's worth giving up capital for a guy I'm just not certain about. Like,
It's a risky move,
oh,
but the
absolutely.
fit is. I think the fit would be beautiful.
I think for me, if OKC was more win now, I would say do it. But we've talked about out west. Like it's Denver's show until someone proves me otherwise, and I don't think that's going to be OKC this year.
Mm.
So, Grant, I do agree. Like I'm not saying obviously punt the picks down like 10 years by
Yeah.
any means, but like if you just look forward to next year's draft, like I don't unless you're taking Bronny James to get LeBron, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where if the guy you're looking to trade all that capital for has just character issues and off the court issues, that scares me. And we've seen teams in other sports do it, and it usually doesn't pay out. Like look at the Browns with Johnny Manziel. Like off the field issues never panned out.
Mm-hmm.
Just never did. So I would love Brandon Miller on this team. I think if you did give the Thunder Brandon Miller this year, they contend for a top 4 seed in the West. But I just I don't think giving up all this capital that they've worked so hard to get by getting rid of a Paul George and getting rid of arguably the best player in Thunder franchise history in Russell Westbrook for a guy that I'm just not sure about is going to give me a full season. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I think to kind of cap this off on the OKC talk, I think that Sam Presti is always a sneaky guy when we talk about all these trades. We're talking about Dame to Miami all the time. We're talking about Portland moving 3. We're talking about Scoot Henderson maybe getting traded, Brandon Miller maybe getting traded, Zion maybe getting traded. All LaMelo Ball, Jalen Green, all these young assets that are just floating around the market. OKC is dark horses in all these camps. Like, could you imagine Zion to OKC? I think he can make
Oh,
it
they're
happen like
championship.
this.
If he stays healthy, they win a championship.
Zion to OKC, I think, would be an incredible move. And I think now's the time to buy low on Zion. You could trade 11 and 2 firsts, and you got Zion Williamson on your team who you already have him locked down for another 5 years, 180 million. You move him out of New Orleans, get him a new situation where he's playing with other superstars, and Zion on the court when he plays, is a top 10 player in the league. He's 27, 8, and 5 on the best field goal percentage in the league. That is a stamp. He has proven it over the 110 games he's played. He's legit. So you just got to get him out of New Orleans. Pray to God he stays healthy. But you have, is it 14 first-round picks in the next 4 years? Why not use
I
three of
think,
them?
yeah.
Why not use 3 of them and get Zion?
I legitimately think the only way the Pelicans will get rid of him is if they get Scoot. I think that is really the piece they want is a Scoot Henderson. And I don't think there's any way OKC can trade up to 3 and then get Zion. Like, that's just a lot of finagling and a lot of pick moving. Because to get up to 3, you're giving probably the 3 first this year, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So then there's 3 first down the drain there. And then to get Zion is 3 and probably another first, maybe a player. So
Mm-hmm.
you're getting rid of 4 first round picks, one of them being pick 3 and a player for a guy that just again has not proven he can stay on the court consistently. I would love it. If Zion is on the Thunder, that team, if he is healthy, if that team stays healthy, they win a championship in the next 3 years.
Yeah, all I'm saying is with 14 picks in the next 4 years or whatever 14 firsts in the next whatever the absurd number is that Presti has stacked up, we've been waiting for 3 years. And over time, I'm not saying it has to be right now, but over time, you got to start cashing in on some of these picks, which is what he drafts so well. And he trades down. Him and Danny Ainge are by far and away the best at blowing up a roster, but making sure your team is successful in the next 5 years to come. And they have a game plan before they blow it up. So both of your teams,
Not like
Utah and OKC, I think are in really good hands. But the one problem with Ainge and Presti is, and time will tell you, history tells us this. Presti never pulled the trigger on one more guy to bring back for those OKC teams to add with the Westbrook, Harden, Durant. They never pulled the trigger on that guy. They brought in, their big move was to go get Kendrick Perkins. That didn't work, right? Ainge never pulled the trigger to go get Anthony Davis to bring him to Boston.
That haunts you to this day.
That's literally 2 to 3 titles in my opinion, right there. You can go back and I think if you reran those same playoffs back with Anthony Davis on Boston, that's 2 championships. The bubble title and last year against the Warriors. I think that's 2 titles right there. Maybe even a third one. And you have to cash in at some point. You build up the stock, you build up the stock, you build up the stock, but you can't keep 18 first round picks on your roster. You got to trade it in for something of value at some point, right? So it's just, when does Presti pull the trigger? I'm not saying it has to be right now, but I'm saying there's young assets on the market right now that you can buy really low on. And maybe it doesn't fit your timeline, maybe it doesn't fit your timetable, maybe you don't like the scheme fit in your roster. But all I'm saying is that there's young guys on the market at very low value, and Presti's a dark horse on all these guys to cash in at some point to make OKC a legit 2, 3, maybe even a 1 seed in the West for the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, if you had a team of Shea, Zion, and Chet for the next 10 years, and Jalen Williams, that is a legit roster to be a 1 seed for the next 5 years if they all stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I would love for them to make a move. I totally agree. That's the one thing I don't like about Sam Presti is he gets all this talent and gets all this capital and just kind of never does anything with it or punts it down the road. Like, even hypothetically, let's throw it out there. Let's say the Spurs called you and said, we will give you 1 to get Victor and give us 7 firsts. Whatever. Let's say it's 7 firsts to be extreme. Right?
Uh-huh.
So you get a generational player and you still have a first round pick each year for the next 7 years. You lose nothing.
You have 2 first round picks for the next 4 years.
I'm saying if you get rid of rid of 7 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I mean, they have 14 they have 14 first though in the next 4 years is what I'm saying. So you'd have 7 first still for the next 4 years, and you'd have Victor Wembanyama.
yeah, so like again, I'd love another move because this team's young and hungry. I think like we've stated time and time again, I think if they hit on this pick, they could easily be a 5 seed out west. And again, one more piece could really tilt the way of this. Like I know it would never happen, but if Dallas looks to ever blow it up, I would give up all my picks to put Luka at my 3.
Or I mean, Luka's definitely there if he becomes unsettled. If the Bucks suck this year, Giannis in a sign-in trade is another legit option. There was trade talks right after they lost to Miami. I think those have definitely quieted down. I mean, Giannis literally got to pick his coach this year.
Yeah.
I think
Or
those are more on the quiet end, but
like a team like Toronto, if Toronto decides they need to blow it up, Scotty Barnes. I would love Scotty Barnes on this Thunder team. I would love that. And
or the Lakers, if they have no moves after LeBron retires, they decide they don't want to build around Anthony Davis. They want to say hit hard reset. Anthony Davis could be on the market very easily. All these, like, OKC is just sitting in such prime position with these picks. I see why Presti doesn't want to give away his certain advantages that he has over literally every other team in the league. But it's just I'm nervous about his ability to pull the trigger. Which is what showed in the Westbrook Harden Durant era. And when he did pull the trigger, he missed hard with that Harden trade. So that's my only concern.
And again, the only other team that can contend with that is Utah. And coming from someone that lives in Utah, no one is going to want to play and live in Utah. Nobody. There's mountains. If you don't ski, you don't want to be in Utah. Because nothing's open on Sundays either. So, like, you don't want to be in Utah. You would rather be in Oklahoma City than Utah. So that's a legitimate, I think, advantage to some guys that, like, maybe would have a no trade clause. If they're like, we're trading you to one of these two teams, they're going to pick Oklahoma City 10 times out of 9. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Only
totally
way dudes' souls are staying in Utah is if they get traded there and they don't have the no trade clause. Like, look at Lauri Markkanen.
Mm-hmm.
You think he wanted to go from Chicago and Cleveland to Utah?
Not like Cleveland's very nice. It's Cleveland.
But you got, like, other sports. That's not soccer. You at least have the Browns, which aren't much, but it's honest work. You have the Guardians. It's not much, but it's honest work. You have the Blue Jackets right down the road. It's not much, but it's honest work.
You got me there.
Just saying. I lived it, man.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the Hurdle Podcast. Massive news. I'm also going to do hey, we've been doing the YouTube shorts. They're killing it. So
Bailey has been doing them. Bailey. Shout out to Bailey.
It's a collective
Bailey's
effort.
been carrying. Bailey's been carrying. Don't let him just. I have had nothing football-wise to really talk about. I'm just waiting for Dalvin Cook to do something.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And but yeah, we're gonna have we're going to within the next week we're gonna get a game plan set out for all this football content that we really want to drop. I want to do some over-unders. I want to do some like betting lines. I want to do an entire episode on just betting lines that I like going into next year because I've looked at it. I like about 15 that I might go bet. So
can I honestly ask you? I'll give a little teaser.
Yeah.
Little teaser. If you were to pick a dark horse for MVP for the NFL, who is it? Because I have one in mind, and I've heard other people say one. I want to hear what you think.
Dark horse?
Mm-hmm.
Would we say Jalen Hurts is a dark horse? It's 14-1 odds.
Oh yeah, I would think anything higher than 10-1.
Okay, so Jalen Hurts would be probably number 1 on my list. If not him, Jefferson.
Okay.
And if I wanted a defensive player, I would say TJ Watt.
Mm.
If he stays healthy, he could break the sack record again.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Those would be my
I think a guy that's getting weapons finally down in Duval County could be a dark horse for an MVP. I think T-Law could be a dark horse for MVP.
That's a good one.
Calvin Ridley, he did great last year, and he gets a number 1 receiver.
And they brought back Ingram. They drafted another tight end so they can run 2 tight end sets. That's a good one. I like that. I'm gonna have to look into the odds on that. We'll see what the numbers say. But I
think
know I'm
he's
betting
like
Hurts
18.
on 14-1.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what it's out in Montana. I mean, he was second in MVP voting and lost by like this much because Mahomes arguably had the best season of his career. So, but
That's enough
that's
football.
another episode.
Whoa. Don't want to give away too much.
That's a whole nother episode. We're gonna be doing division breakdowns. I will probably be doing fantasy football mock drafts all over the place if Logan would like to join me on those, or Avery.
Oh, of course I want to be on.
We will
It's
be doing
football.
those. I'll be doing a bunch of fantasy football stuff. We're gonna bring back fantasy football Fridays as the season comes along. Those are like my favorite episodes to do. So,
They were really fun.
and I get to do research on my own team and for your guys' teams at the same time. So I'll have a big board for fantasy football. We're gonna do the whole 9 yards on this thing. Super flex leagues, normal leagues, everything fantasy football. We'll be doing shorts. I have so much lined up.
We're gonna be a gambling channel.
And that's before the season even starts. So we'll be doing division breakdowns, predictions, Super Bowl predictions, the whole everything NFL related. We're gonna draw out a game plan, maybe even right after this.
Yeah.
Is recorded. So look, go check out those. I'm still doing basketball shorts on the YouTube. Thank you for supporting that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like it, all that jazz. Follow the Instagram at Hurdle Podcast, HRDL Podcast. And Spotify is now supporting video podcasts, so you can actually watch the video along with the podcast on Spotify.
Ooh.
If you don't like the YouTube, we've been doing that for like the last 4 or 5 I uploaded. So if you don't want the YouTube, Spotify has it as well. Check us out over there. But that's gonna do it. Avery, Logan, Bailey.
All right.
Good luck tomorrow in your draft. See you guys.
Wait, what's Avery doing?
I don't know.
Oh. What an outro.
Yeah.
See you guys.